and I have a friend there holding the phone for me for a second. We're going to look at this useful data found at University of East Anglia Climate Research Unit in a minute. But first, I'd like to say thank you to all my subscribers and people that watch my channel, and people that comment, whether it's good or bad. I love them all. They give me great ideas. And my brother today, 13 years ago, died. He actually blew his brains out between about midnight, between December 4th and December 5th. He was on 10 different medications. I know what they have been trying to do the last few years and years. I tried to help. I tried to tell my parents. My parents were programmed by the doctors that had to keep them on the medication. Anyway, I was wearing a scarf today, and while I was thinking about my brother, and 13 years today, I found out my brother committed suicide. Blew his brains out with a shotgun. He bought very easily from America. I want to play with the scarf. And I want you to look, because he couldn't understand the hatred here either. With all the different cultures and all the different people. And I want to play with my scarf. And I want you to imagine who, what, where I am from, who I am, how old, all those things. But just looking at the way I put my peace scarf. See, it looks deceiving. It's all within. People, it's all within. Mystery is within. It really is. Mystery is within. I see many things with my peace scarf. I can look many ways. On the outside, on the inside, peace and love. And I want people to understand that in the city, it's all about peace and love. And people don't get that. It really is all about peace and love. Honest, guys, it's all about peace and love. Please, I ran out of ideas off my mirror in front of me. Let's watch the video now, please. This is my brother Simon, who was born April 13th, 1970, and died December 4th or 5th, about midnight, 1996. We know what's going on, and I also have a computer science degree. I got it in 1991, back when DOS was hot. And I understand computers, and I understand the problem here. I did coding, not on this particular program.
Some climate scientists are suggesting to government that the situation is potentially so damaging that they'd like to see the UK global temperature record reanalyzed from scratch to clear the air. And that might not be such a bad idea, given some of the fresh concerns raised with Newsnight about the quality of the programming in question. This is the source code from the Climatic Research Unit. John Graham Cumming is a software engineer. He's not a skeptic on climate change, but he is shocked by what he's seen in the programming. He compared it with code in the same language written by NASA.
Well, if you look at the NASA stuff, it's really professional. You can look at it, you can see the history. If you look at the work that's done here by the alleged CRU files, it's not the sort of thing you'd expect to see, certainly in commercial industry. You would not see this kind of source code because it's not clearly documented. There's no audit history of what's happened to it. So it would be below the standards you'd expect in any commercial software.
Okay, and tell me about the bug that you found in one part of the program.
The programming language actually has a problem, and they put in some code to deal with that error. Unfortunately, in doing so, they've introduced another error, and the upshot of this is that if the error occurs, the underlying error occurs, they will skip over the data that they're trying to plot without any warning for the end user. So in some senses, data in here is being lost.
There are also plaintive comments by one of the programmers at the University of East Anglia trying to grapple with the software.
So in here, he says something like, something's very wrong, it's my programming ability, isn't it? And, once again, it's further confirmation that my abilities are below what is required here.
In fact, the programmer is disarmingly frank. He goes on, yep, my awful programming strikes again. So if you were betting billions or trillions of dollars on the basis of this code, is that something you'd be comfortable with?
I don't think I would be comfortable with that because it's not obvious what it's doing and why it's doing it, and that needs to be made clear.
And An amateurish approach over programming doesn't necessarily undermine the unit's final results, and the government told us tonight that there's not currently a case for reanalysis of the data. But the University Review, announced today, chaired by a former civil servant chosen by the university itself, won't report until next spring, not soon enough perhaps to stop the Saudis or others using the row as ammunition at Copenhagen.
Susan Watts reporting. To discuss this, I'm joined from Liverpool by Dr. Benny Pizer, Director of the Global Warming Policy Foundation, and in the studio by Professor Robert Watson, Chief Scientific Advisor to the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Robert Watson, let me come to you first. There's going to be an independent review, but don't we need now for all the raw data to be laid on the table so that people can make proper judgments on everything?
Yes. We need the University of Anglia to get permission from the Met offices around the world to get all of this data open and transparent so it can be freely analysed. I agree completely.
And you worked at UEA as a professor.
Correct.
Yes. So at the moment, would you accept that part of the problem has come from the fact that you haven't had the normal process of scientific validation? You haven't been able to cross-question the scientists on the basis of their judgments?
No, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has looked not only at the UEA analysis, but also the analysis done by NASA and by NOAA. And as was stated in your own programme, the results are basically in full agreement. Not only are the three data sets and the analysis in full agreement, there's also the other data of rising sea levels, melting glaciers, melting Arctic sea, all arguing very strongly that we are changing the Earth's climate.
Benny Pizer, is that good enough for you to be able to see everything that's coming out? We obviously need this inquiry desperately. People are beginning to lose trust in the scientific community, particularly the climate science community, and we are very, very pleased that the inquiry now has been set up. We've been calling for that inquiry for many days, and we have to get to the bottom of this scandal, which is sending shockwaves around the world. Is it a scandal? Oh, it's a massive scandal. It's the biggest science scandal in living memory.
Yep, it is.
You shed some crocodile tears there, didn't you? Because doesn't it rather help your case to have this scandal? I don't know what case you're talking about. Well, what I'm talking about is the fact that because you have got a scandal like this, this reinforces your rather more sceptical view of some of the data that's coming out. Well, we are not questioning the basic science of global warming. That's not our issue. We are, however, very concerned about issues like transparency, openness. The university has been asked for many, many years to share that information, that data, with independent researchers, and it has declined a freedom of information request. It has declined to share that information and data, and therefore we don't really know what is going on. We need to know. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
We know that this is one of the worst scandals that there's been, and it's going to cast a cloud over Copenhagen. I mean, listen to what the cloud says.
It's definitely a very unfortunate situation. It's absolutely imperative that this independent review announced today by UEA is carried out as quickly as possible. It will clearly have a cloud over the debate in Copenhagen.
Don't
the vast
vote for
majority
Copenhagen.
of the science, which does not rest on just this one data set, all points to the fact that the Earth's climate is changing. We cannot explain those changes unless we invoke human activity.
Benny Pizer used the word scandal. Would you use the word scandal?
I would certainly argue that those email trails are inappropriately
Don't do what they want to Copenhagen.
It's a scandal, isn't it?
I would say it's an inappropriate situation that the independent review clearly has to dig into. Was there any misrepresentation of data? Was there loss of data? What was done inappropriately or not? So it's clear we need to completely look at this in an open and transparent manner.
Okay, and Benny Pizer, is it realistic that everything is just laid open? In the world of science, don't people work privately to some extent?
Of course they do.
No, we're not concerned about emails. We're concerned with basic data on which some of the climate reconstruction, the history of climate over the last 1,000 years has been reconstructed. Let's not forget, the researchers at the University of East Anglia have essentially eliminated the medieval warm period. Up until very recently, it was generally accepted that there was a warm period in the Middle Ages that was as warm as today, perhaps even warmer. Now, their research has cast doubt on the existence of that warm period. Sorry to interrupt you, but what about Professor Robert Watson's point that it's not just the University of East Anglia that has been looking at this? and come to the same conclusion. No, we're not talking here about the modern warming period. I don't think there is much doubt about that. It's about whether it is unique in the history of the last 1,000 or 2,000 years.
Look up the
That is the thing I'm